What's up, everybody? I am so excited to be in LA with an incredible special guest, William Matthews, singer, writer, producer extraordinaire. You're a producer, right?
Yeah, I produce.
Yeah.
I also act and dance. No, I don't do it.
Oh, okay. We're gonna see some of that, and we're gonna do a little bit of that later. So stay tuned for the dancing segment of the podcast, our first one.
Great dancer.
Yes. Well, I was in LA randomly, but I've been wanting to interview Will for a while because we briefly crossed paths in the ministry world back when I was like a tiny little twink, and you were like doing a lot of like big stuff.
Yeah, I was leading worship.
Yeah, I was like a teenager practically.
Were you?
I was like 19, 20.
Everyone was so young. We were all kind of young.
We were all kids.
Yeah, I showed up there when I was 25. So
you felt like you were old, but really now you look back and you're like, oh, I was a kid too.
Yeah, I mean, mid-20s is kind of, you're an adult, but yeah, you just, so much you don't know. But yeah, I guess a lot of folks that came through Reading were easily 18, 19, 20.
Yeah. I don't know how many times you've given your full story, but I was kind of curious. I just wanted to get to the top. If it's relevant, if it's not, it's not. Because I know you really explored queerness when you were older, but when you were younger, did you...
Wait.
Yeah.
You think I'm gay?
I assume you might be a little bit gay.
I'm not gay.
No, this just in. Will Matthews is not gay at all.
No, I'm not gay. I'm gay.
He's gay.
He's
gay. So we're all free now. Maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah,
that would have been your answer.
Sorry, keep asking your question. I just derailed.
No, derail away. I'm usually the derailer, so it's nice to have someone else joining.
Oh, so we're gonna have an ADHD conversation where we're just gonna bounce around.
And people still watch this, so I assume that some people, all the other people that also are ADHD like me. Nice. I'm not diagnosed, but I assume I have a touch.
That's why you gave me a little tequila, and that's why I'm drinking a little tequila, because it'll help streamline my thoughts.
Honestly, a little bit is good. Too much. Bad. We'll see if we're at the right level.
Little tips for Jesus is good.
Tips for Jesus. I know. The amount of years I thought alcohol was the devil, and now here we are.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I learned to drink in Bible school.
See, I did in Bible school, but I felt a little bad. I was drinking when I was in ministry school up in Reading. I definitely was drinking.
Really? Well, everybody was drinking in Reading.
In first year, but I was 19.
Everybody.
I was 19 in first year. But then in second year, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a good student, and I stopped drinking. So I drank at 19, 20.
That's the time you're supposed to be.
But I stopped for 6 months, and then I turned 21 right after second year.
What year did you show up again?
I showed up in 2009.
Yeah, you showed up the same year I did.
Oh, shoot.
That's what I'm saying.
We're both babies.
So did you show up like the fall 2009, or were you...
I showed up for the fall. Yeah, September 2009.
So the class before you, the 2008 to 2009 year, they were big drinkers. And they got so much trouble. Yeah.
I heard so many stories.
We had the craziest parties.
Yeah.
I wasn't a school of ministry student. I just showed up to move and live there. But all my friends were in first, second year, and all the parties in 2009.
Oh, we heard our school year, we were getting talks right off the get-go. Like week one, they're like, hey, no doing this, no doing that. And we're like, we have not done anything. What's going on?
Because the year before, they were crazy. Now, I wasn't in that class, but I hung out with a lot of them. I'm not going to name names.
But we know.
I got some names I can name that are still there.
And you would know the names. And they just like to have fun. They were kids that like to have fun.
Yeah, it was fun. They were fun.
Who cares? But when you're in a town of like 100,000 people and half the people know you, it's risky to drink.
It was risky. Okay, sorry. You asking me a question.
Yes.
Top line about.
Okay, yeah. It's good. You
just outed me on your podcast, which is fine.
So wait, can we have that in writing? Will Matthews, are you a little gay?
I'm very gay.
Okay, this just in.
But gay for Jesus.
Interesting. Like attraction to Jesus.
Yeah, I'm very attracted to white European medieval Jesus. He's like Henry Cavill looking like Jesus.
Honestly. Yeah, no, my parents have him up on the wall, and I'm like, that's white. Mm-hmm. He's white, but you know what? Go off. Whatever makes you relate.
Whatever makes you relate. I'm also attracted to black Jesus, but only I need my black Jesus, to look, who have locks, to look very like.
As you should.
Yeah.
If you got the long hair, you got to do something cool with it.
Of course. I mean, or he could be pretty like Tyson Beckford.
Yeah.
Or,
I was curious because I know you've come out, so to speak. I think it's probably like a longer process for you. But how old were you when you started to realize you might be queer?
I think I knew I was gay when I was like 5 years old.
Okay, so you've always kind of known.
Yeah, kissing boys in the church basement at 5
years
old.
Shoot! Yeah, people, you really like develop this stuff when you're tiny and no one.
Yeah, and it, you know,
that.
when you're that young too, it's like, you know, a lot of people, you know, they always joke about like kissing cousins too.
Yeah.
Like people, you know, when you're, so it wasn't necessarily like sexualized, but it was still like, I just had an affinity more for the same sex.
Yeah.
But then, you know, you grow up and you start to feel shame about those feelings, because for a lot of people, they think it's like something you grow out of in boyhood. And then puberty hit me and I'm like, oh, these feelings just feel supercharged. Like I remember having this, the kid that lived down the street who was my age. So I was probably 13, 14 at the time. There was this white kid named Keith, and we used to play basketball together in his backyard. And I had the biggest crush on him. But at the time it was like, I felt so much shame about it, you know, and he was very straight, you know. But the way I used to I didn't even like playing basketball, but the way I would go over just to play basketball with Keith, because he was so cute.
Yeah.
And, you know, used to ride school bus together. And yeah, it was just like moments like that. And yeah, I experimented a little bit in my teenage years, but I really shut it down when I was about 19 and 20.
Yeah.
To pursue ministry.
Because you were in the church this whole time, right? You were a church kid.
Yeah, I was a church kid. My dad was a pastor.
Oh, shoot. I didn't know that, actually. My dad was, too.
Really?
Yeah, pastor's kid club. It's traumatic all the time, but extra traumatic if you're gay.
Oh, yeah, especially when your dad's preaching sermons about how it's wrong to be gay, and then you're sitting there in the, you know.
Just like.
For me, actually, because I felt so much shame growing up, pastor's kid, queer, all those things. And then I wanted to pursue ministry. Like I had this experience when I was 18 where I got like baptized in the Holy Spirit, and I'm like speaking in tongues and like, you know, this whole very powerful experience. And I was like, I'm going to pursue ministry and I want to be a worship leader and I'm going to do Christian music. And when that experience hit, like I just knew I had to shut that part of me down. And I did. Like my entire 20s, I was celibate for Jesus. Like didn't listen, that was my teenage years. But then when I was like 18, 19, I was like, no more. I got to cut this off. I got to be radical for Christ. And I did. And I pursued Christian music, and the rest is history.
Yeah. I mean, at that stage, for those of us who feel like we want to be in ministry, we know the jig is up. Like you can't get into that stuff because it could be your career, your life. And also you're committed to God, and you have heard your whole life that God doesn't want you to do that. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be a Christian, you probably try and hold back. But if you want to be in ministry, especially, you're like, yeah, I really got to nip this in the bud.
Did you have to?
Did you think like because you knew you were trying to not press into your sexuality, you were trying to not figure that out. Mm-hmm. Do you feel like you stayed in the Christian environment to kind of help you avoid diving into your sexuality? Because I know that's some people's stories.
You know, it was a mix of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I felt a real sense of calling to do worship. Yeah. And I didn't want anything to get in the way of that. Even my own sexuality or my sexual expression. So I don't know. Yeah. I just knew I tried dating. I think I went on 2 dates. I remember I went on a date with a girl in Reading. Yep. She ended up marrying my friend, Drew Small.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. I think she might have been in my year.
I think so too. Yeah, because I think she was the next year after.
She's cool. I mean, and that's kind of like what we look for as queer individuals. We look for girls that are cool and fun. You're like, I might can hang out with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Like maybe I'll fall in love. You never know.
This is when I knew that dating girls wasn't going to work for me, because I think we went out to eat or somewhere, and then I took her back to my house and I made her watch Murder, She Wrote on the couch with me. I made her watch Murder, She Wrote.
You're like, I'm so straight right now. Let's watch Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah. Because I'm a
60-year-old grandma solving crimes. Like straight men totally watch this.
Yeah. We just love Angela Lansbury for some reason. As straight dudes. Yeah.
So much. Love her so much.
Shout out to Drew. I love you, Drew.
Hey, if Will wasn't gay, you might not be married to her right now, because that date could have ended in marriage. You never know. Heather. Yeah. Heather Smalls.
Yeah. Heather's. Yep. We love you. We knew a lot of the same people. Have a lot of the same friends.
Yeah. I was just like the little like twinkie guy that didn't know anybody, and you were like.
But did you know you were a twink?
No, I wouldn't use the term twink back then. I was just super skinny and kind of just naive and awkward. I was so homeschooled that I was just kind of awkward. So there's just a lot of layers of stuff, but that's another story. But
you know, Reading there was always so many cute boys in Reading, I remember. And that was always like a temptation of like, that's why I struggle with some of the Holy Spirit manifestation stuff, because sometimes it would just be pylons and people on top of each other and guys just basically groping each other. Yeah. And that always felt a little weird to me. And so like if Georgie and Banoff would ever come through, I'd be like, okay, no, this is going to turn into And
fire tunnel. We're gonna be rolling on top of each
yeah,
other.
everyone's rolling.
And
And I'm
like,
like,
I don't want to feel those things.
I don't want to
while I'm
feel
trying
these
like,
things.
Connect the spirit.
Yeah,
it's conflicting.
I had to back. I was like, so every time he would come through, I'd be like, nope, guys, sorry, I can't. I don't want to be a part of this. It was funny because he loved my worship leading, so he always wanted me to be around and like do the happy songs and stuff.
I know that.
But I'd be like, no, I don't want to feel these things, and all
The
these cute
temptation.
boys touching me, and like, William, I just want to pray over you, whoa, and like all that stuff. I was like, like I was, surprisingly, I fought it.
No, absolutely. I think I did that too. You want to avoid any situation where you might feel attraction because that's like a reminder that you're not. Yeah. Did you think that maybe you just were this was gonna resolve itself and you just weren't gonna be gay eventually? Did you believe all of that?
I think I was too busy
You kept yourself busy on purpose, didn't you?
I kept myself busy
You're
for like a decade.
Constant
strong.
ministry around people that like wouldn't even let you think about it. Like you don't even get a chance to think about it.
No, I honestly, from like 2004 or 5, I mean, even before I came to Reading, I was like, I've been a part of so many different ministries and churches and movements and stuff that like from like 2004 to 2016, I don't think I really thought.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like a blur because everything was go, go, go. These ministry schedules were I was doing internships, then getting on staff. Then, and I was doing that. I was going to Bible school first, and then I had to work a job to support my life. And then I had to intern for this ministry and then go on this ministry trip. And then I was traveling with Lou Engle and The Call. And then I was going to J-Hop DC from Charlotte. And then I was going to Kansas City. And then I was in Texas with Teen Mania. It was just so much that it was hard to think about where any of this was going. Yeah. And it took me actually getting to the top of Christian music to realize, oh, this isn't really what I want.
Because there's no more climbing. You feel like you've gotten there. So you're not distracted with the climb anymore, so to speak.
No, not. And let's quote Miley Cyrus. It really was the climb.
You worked hard.
The dream I'm dreaming. Right.
Yes. Actually, I love that song.
I know, it's a great song. That was my anthem of 2009. Like, I'm gonna get to the top of Christian music, and then you get there, and you're like,
oh shit.
And then that wasn't.
Then you're unhappy.
And then I'm unhappy, and I'm like, I would come home and feel so lonely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think anyone that does public facing ministry to any level feels that existential
Absolutely.
angst. So it doesn't matter about sexuality.
It just doesn't help. It adds another layer.
Adds another layer.
And you don't have a partner.
And I don't have a partner. And then I'm watching all my friends start to find partners and get married.
Yep.
And then I'm like, why isn't it happening for me? At this point, I'm approaching 30. I'm 30 years old. Yeah. And I've gone my entire 20s like running after this passion and dream of doing ministry. And it's not working. And why do I still feel more alone? And I'm like praying for the sick, and I'm prophesying, and I'm standing on stages in front of 100,000 people and getting at a festival in England and getting everyone to dance. And then I come home and I'm like lonely. Yeah. And what does that mean? And it wasn't till then that I thought, where is this actually headed for my life? Yeah. And I had to start asking bigger questions, and I had to start looking at not just what I was a part of, but really looking at what is it that I want in my life. Yeah. And there was this fear of being who I was and just owning how I felt, take Bible theology and all those big questions out of it. Like, who am I at my core? Yeah. How do I feel? And why am I not allowing myself to feel? Yeah. And there was so much suppression happening that I was like, no one was doing it towards me. I was doing it because of how I grew up and how I thought other people would perceive me. So I'm limiting myself. I'm not dating. I'm keeping myself hemmed in so I don't, mess up this ministry gig I have by sleeping around. I'm not being DL and living a double life. Yeah. I'm keeping myself on the straight and narrow, but man, that straight and narrow was lonely as fuck. Yeah. It was super lonely.
Absolutely. There's no way around that. And I think you're in these cultures that will tell you everything's good, everything's fine, you're going to be happy, and or to sacrifice it, whichever. But Christian culture is often just, it feels like downplaying what you're going through. And so you believe them for a while and you think, okay, well, this is still good. My life is still good. But then they're having these experiences with their partners and they're having dating, and they are just telling you to wait, or, whichever ministry you're in, telling you to wait or be celibate or try date anyways. And you can follow that for a while, but eventually you're like, wait a second, this isn't working. I'm not happy. Nothing's happening. And so I think so many of us hit that breaking point.
It's so true. And yet my experience was a little bit different in the sense of I didn't let anyone really tell me anything.
Yeah.
I grew up around a family and parents who were willing to debate and push ideas and wrestle with ideas a little bit. So anything I realized that I believed, yes, people were telling me stuff and trying to make me feel a certain way, but I was always like reading beyond what was being told to me to read, right? I was reading Rachel Held Evans while I was like doing massive Christian tours, you know, and reading Harry Potter. Like, you know, like I was for real. Like I was the guy in like, I would tell people back in 2008 and 9, like, I don't think hell's eternal if it's even real.
Yeah.
Like, and you know, like people knew that about so I was always my own thing. And it's probably surprising I got as far as I did with being as like kind of a rebel in that way.
Yeah.
So like, but even with the like sexuality thing, like, yeah, there were those messages and I did it out of like fear of man, but also I really did it as an offering. Like my celibacy was an offering to God.
Yeah.
And it really was authentic. And I look back on it and I don't know, I don't really shame it as much as I knew it was authentic for the moment that I was living in.
Yeah.
And then when I opened up my consciousness, I realized that no longer served me.
Yeah.
It no longer served me to deny that part of myself. It served me for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I think anything we do, we're doing it because it serves us. Even the bad things, right? Or the things we qualify as like not healthy. We do it because it serves us. It serves the season of life we're in, the communities we're a part of. But I think we have choice and we have agency in that. So even when I think about people trying to suppress you and oppress you, I tend to think of it like, yeah, but also I was a willing participant.
Yeah.
I was active and complicit even in my own like suppression and oppression.
Yeah.
And so I think it's always holding the both and for me when we talk about these things of like, again, this is not about victim blaming or like shaming anyone for, you know, spaces they were in that were unhealthy or toxic. It's just about the ownership of I was a participant in that. So sure, no one told me, William, you have to be celibate in order to do Christian music.
Yeah.
But those were the messages I sort of received, and then I made that calculation and I did it. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm just kind of talking.
No, it does. I think it's good. I think you probably, and even like being a pastor's kid, having some agency within the church where you feel like you are more of a powerful person. There's some people that are more prone to follow. You're a pretty powerful, strong person.
That's pretty true.
So I think you knew what you were doing, but you chose it. Now, ideally, there'd never be a world where you'd have to choose your passion or your sexuality.
Yeah, you're right.
You had it, and you were still wrestling with whether it was right or wrong. So then in your like later years, or later, like after you've been doing all this for a while, around 30, you started to think maybe this is not working out.
Yeah.
Maybe this isn't like a happy life plan.
Yeah, it really was. And some of it was just my evolution in age. Like I had shown up in, like when my music really started to break, I was 26, 7.
Yeah. That's a lot for a 26, 27-year-old experience. That's huge.
But then by the time it started really reaching its height, I was 30, 31.
Yeah.
And there's a big shift for men in their 20s to their 30s.
Yep.
And so I had truly come into you're right. Even when I was younger, I was a powerful person. By the time I hit 30, you really couldn't tell me shit. And,
no, that's a great skill to have.
Yeah, it's like,
that's awesome.
You know, you get a little success under your belt and you get a little like, you travel the world a little bit, you have some experience. And you're just like, I just found my power. By the time I hit 30, 31, I knew who I was and I found my power. And that translated in really beautiful ways. I felt like my art grew, my writing grew, my worship leading grew. Like I was writing the best songs in my career. Sorry, something you said made me think of, I was actually talking to one of my old worship leader friends. I was talking to Corey Asbury on the phone recently. Yep. And I don't know, we were talking about this other worship leader that we both knew and just about very unhealthy patterns with them. And I was like, yeah, they used to try to bully me all the time. And I never would let them do it. Yeah. Like they steamrolled everybody. But when it came to me, I always like pushed back. And Corey was the same way. He was like, yeah, of course. He was like, cause you and me, like we don't take shit basically. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, like we were always those people in those spaces. So by the time I hit 30, 31, I'm like, no, you're not going to like steamroll me. You're not going to tell me that's not true or you know? And so for me, coming out really was a slow process of taking ownership of myself, taking ownership of my energy, taking ownership of my attraction, and just being honest.
Yeah.
It was less like a political statement or a theological statement. It was just, this is how I feel. It's not going away. I've done inner healing programs. I've done
Yeah.
deliverance. I've
Yeah.
done all these things, and nothing has changed.
Yeah.
I've laid out on the floor in Toronto and been prayed for by the best of them.
Yeah.
All the names that
Probably
we
a
know.
1,000 of the best of them.
1,000 of those
Every
prayers.
one of them.
Every one of them. And they didn't work.
Yeah.
And if there was somebody it could have worked for who was sold out, dedicated,
Yeah.
laid down lover for Jesus, that was
Thousands,
me.
if not like tens of thousands of hours in the prayer room and the worship and all that.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean,
if
I
that's not
literally
gonna
spent
change
time
you,
in the
what
house
is?
of prayer.
Yeah.
I was paid to be there 40 hours a week, live worship and intercession and prayer for the nations, right?
100,000 hours of worship and still
And
gay.
still gay.
Still gay.
Still gay.
This just in. Still gay.
That's why I don't understand some of these conservative folks, theologically speaking,
Yeah.
because I'm like, if y'all had to remotely live that level of self-sacrifice in those spaces, you wouldn't do it. I know they wouldn't do it.
No.
Y'all not strong enough.
No.
No.
The messaging is all about sacrifice, and we all sacrifice for the Lord. But what does your sacrifice actually look like in your real day to day? Because it sure
Yeah.
doesn't look like what I'd have to do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, maybe you didn't sleep around with somebody before you married your wife, but guess what? You got permission to marry your wife by the community and celebrated for it. Like, you're basically telling a whole generation of queer people they have to live a whole life of celibacy, and they can't. Like, it's so dumb. They're so weak. They couldn't live a day in our shoes.
Yeah. No, the logic doesn't. It's only like it feels like everyone's just not thinking it through. And it's so frustrating because you just want to sit there and be like, this is what our life looks like in your world. In your perfect world, I am just here and like non-sexual and just never do anything my whole life. I'm like, that sounds great to you. You never actually experienced what that's like.
Oh yeah, I used to tell one of the worship leaders at Bethel who used to just say dumb shit all the time. I said, could you imagine being white, going to an all-black megachurch, submitting your life and ministry to a black pastor, learning to sing in a choir, and do that for 5, 10, 15 years as a white person? Could you even imagine doing that?
Yeah.
So why are you telling me anything about what it means to like be in service and dedication and like submitting your life to Christ, when you won't even, like, most of these white worship leaders would never do that in a black church.
Yeah.
But yet so many black people come into white spaces and have to culturally navigate so much stuff.
Absolutely.
And so many microaggressions and so many things. And then they get told, like, you're not doing it enough. You're too much this. I'm like, girl, if you could just go sit in a black church for 1 year, you would be humbled.
The things you're giving you shit about, they have no understanding of like who you are, where you come from, and they'd never be brave enough to do what you're doing.
No, not at all.
There's levels of othering, because like I know as a queer person I've been othered, especially after coming out, but like you going through that on 2 levels, like queerness and being black, like, I mean, that's why you're such a strong person, because you've had
I think
to,
so,
like,
probably.
you've had to be a badass your whole life just to survive. Like, I can't even imagine like the strength that must have built. Like, obviously you're a very strong person, but I can't even fathom, because for me, I can just be like, oh, I'm, I can hide my gayness, but like,
you can hide it. You
no,
sure?
not anymore. I think I always thought I could, but like being at Bethel and being like the one black worship leader, like that's gotta be, I mean, I can't really.
Yeah, it was difficult. I mean, I chose it. I loved it. And there's nothing in that way I really regret from it.
Yeah.
But it just was a cultural shock.
Yeah.
It was a culture shock.
Absolutely.
And any ministry I've pretty much worked in my adult life has been a culture shock for me. And that's okay. Like, I've actually enjoyed the adventure of going into places and spaces where maybe you don't see that many people like me. And I go there because I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
And I think so many people stick to spaces that keep them small, or spaces that just feel comfortable for them. And I could easily just been only in black church spaces and stayed there my whole life. But there were things about the white church spaces that I was like, actually, I really like that, or I want to be a part of that, or and I want to learn from them in that way. Not because they're better, but just because they have something different to teach me. I just found, unfortunately, in pretty much most of my experiences in white spaces, of like, that energy wasn't always reciprocated back. People they think you're coming to them because you value only what they do, or you think what they do is superior, so they treat it as that, when you're like, no, I think it's like a cultural exchange here. Like, I learn from you, you learn from me too, and it should be a two-way street. And worship, I think was always that way for me. So it was really painful for me to spend 15 years in white evangelical spaces, only to feel like, to see them all politically go vote for Donald Trump was crazy to me, because I was like, I thought I was building bridges. And again, I have no problem with people being Republican or people voting conservative. I had a problem with the like outright racism and the anti-blackness and the white supremacy and the Christian nationalism and all that stuff. And I'm going, if this is the goal, I don't want any part of that. And the moment that became, clear to me, I was like, I don't think I want to lead worship anymore.
No, absolutely. I mean, wherever you stand politically, again, like, I think the political system's messy regardless. Like, I'm like, either party.
I voted Republican for a lot of years too. Like, I've voted across the spectrum. So for me, it was less about party affiliation.
But like, this person was, I mean, me as a queer individual, I feel like so much, even if you don't feel like he's made big, like if he keeps it subtle, like, does he actually hate gay people? Who knows? But he has put people in power that are taking away rights, that are like getting rid of like AIDS research and getting rid of all these things that are very
LGBT hotline.
The hotline for gay youth, like for that are like going through it. And then like the subliminal, like the not subliminally, like outright racist things he said. Like, if you know us and you have people in your life that are queer or black, and you talk to your queer and black friends and they feel scared that this person's going to be elected, and that doesn't even factor into your voting rights. Like, I have so many people that are like, oh no, he's not actually homophobic or he's not actually racist. It's like, well, you're a straight white person saying those things. Do you want to talk to your black friends or your queer friends and see if they think he's racist or homophobic? Because they might be able to pick up on stuff you can't. It drives me nuts, but it's like,
that's because
nothing we can do.
I mean, there's so many ways to take that conversation.
Yeah, we don't need to dig deep into politics. I didn't mean to.
No.
But yeah, I feel the same thing. It's so hard right now.
So I think it's really the framework of what a capitalistic system creates inside of our own personal identities. Capitalism creates separation and breaks things into parts, and as it's the product of consumerism, right? Like the hyper individualistic culture makes people think how I view things is the only lens. Whereas you think of indigenous cultures, they think in collective frameworks, like Kamala Harris went viral last year for saying,
the coconut?
Do you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? No, you live in the context of all there is. And that, I think there's something embedded in white identity that struggles with collectivism, mainly because this nation was founded on hyper individualized ideas and ideals. And the puritanical like theology that came over is like, you're an individual sinner who is in debt to God. And they say things in church now of like, if you were the only person on earth, Jesus would have still came and died just for you. I'm like, that's so me-centric. That's so individual-centric when the whole cosmic project, Christian-wise, is about collective salvation. It's like the Lamb who comes to take away the sin, singular, of the world, right? There's a collective sin. Like, sin is not individual, it's collective. Same as holiness. Holiness is not individualistic, it's collective. We are holy because we are one. Right? And so, but I think that's just such a different framework to white identity, because white identity loves to think of itself as individual, as I am just me. I'm not part of a what is white culture? That's not a thing, because we are just all individuals. And I used to hear that all the time in white spaces, and I'm going, yet you all have the same patterns. You tend to vote the same. You tend to dress the same. You talk the same. You
don't hang out with anybody from any other circles, and all your friends are white.
I used to hear people in Reading say all the time, which was so wild to me. They were like, this room is full of so much diversity, and it'd be just mostly white people from other places, white Europeans, white Australians, and white Americans. And I'm like, I mean,
is the diversity in the room with us?
It was just, people just saying stuff.
And
I was like, well, diversity, there's lots of ways to qualify diversity, but also that's when I realized, oh, white people really think they're diverse. I don't know what that is. I didn't grow up like understanding that, but
no, it's the like, it's the fact that everyone believes that, but isn't really listening to anybody else. Like, are you asking other people if they think you're diverse that aren't like you? And, oh, they don't think you are, but you haven't, that didn't matter to you in the whole conversation?
No.
Are you asking other people? Are you asking different cultures? Are you asking, like, different churches? Like, in your head, you're great. Everyone's doing great in their own head if
Yeah.
you're in your own, like, bubble.
It's so true.
Yeah.
I also think too, it's my friend Propaganda, who's a spoken word artist, he loves to say that he has a PhD in whiteness. And I think I do too. And so
Sure, at this point.
Yeah, at this point. So I always think of it, I'm like, nobody hates white people other than other white people. And that's been an interesting phenomenon of like so much similarity, yet like intrinsic hatred of the other. Like, you know, you see it in history, right? Like the way that Irish were lower end of the, you know, the hierarchical rung in like the colonial phase, right? And yeah, it's just, there's so much back and forth tit for tat in white culture in that way. And then the one thing that unites and bonds them is like, okay, but we're not black. We're not these people.
Yeah.
But when you identify that, I get why it's hard for folks to identify the subtext that's happening in culture, but also in church spaces and in rooms. Like, it's difficult. And with queerness, going back to that, it's the same thing of like diversity looks like all of us together having a voice in this thing. And any space, I just realized ultimately that doesn't allow people who look like me or come from places I come from to have a voice, not for me.
Yeah.
I'd rather build with people who actually value diversity than people who call conformity and homogeny diversity.
Yeah.
And then pat themselves on the back for it.
Absolutely.
I don't know who we're fictionally talking about, but it's fun.
No, I mean, a lot of the American church in general, I think, feels like they're doing great. But church, and I've said this before, church is like one of the most segregated spaces in America. And it's like,
Martin Luther King said that.
okay, so yeah, I should know who said that. But okay, that's God's perfect plan, is for like his space to be the one where we're the most separated. Like,
Well, that is the American project of Christianity. Like evangelicalism in its theological tree comes out of slaveholding. The idea of separate but equal is intrinsic to our understanding of Christianity here in America, because what we understand Christianity to be comes from colonizers, European colonizers who I think we truly underestimate the impact that settler colonialism has had on the globe, but particularly what it's had on our theology.
Yeah. How
How we view each other, how we view and treat the body, how we view and treat the other.
Yeah.
Like colonizers came here and saw indigenous cultures and they shamed them for it.
Yes.
They saw native cultures that actually had space for LGBT people, what we call LGBT people,
Yeah.
but they had two-spirited.
The Two-Spirit. I remember hearing about this. Yes.
There's books that have been written about this that actually chronologically detail the history and how the settler colonialists would shame these indigenous cultures for having space for multiple genders, right?
Yeah.
And they did it through Christianity.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense to me why our version of Christianity looks hyper individualistic, looks like it hates diversity, looks like it hates queer people, and it's anti-black, is because those are the actual roots of American evangelicalism.
Yeah.
And going back, like you said, you know, the Martin Luther King quote, I'm like, it makes sense, because when the civil rights movement came around, Billy Graham said, don't get involved.
Yeah.
And that's the great white evangelical hope. And he said, don't get involved. Like, I know he had Martin Luther King come pray at one of his events, but he, for years, told his congregants and anyone that came to his crusades, like, our lot's in heaven. Don't worry about this justice on earth. Oof. You know? Like, and then we wonder why we vote a criminal into office who claims to be a Christian and a rapist and a racist and a pedophile and all those things. Like, we wonder why the white evangelical church supports this stuff, because at the end of the day, they support dominance over divinity.
Yeah.
They want people to dominate in the name of Jesus and not actually show the divinity of Jesus in how you love and support the poor.
Yeah.
And that for me is like, that's everything. Is it dominance or is it divinity? Are we in this thing because we want to rule other people, or are we in this because we share divinity with all of God's creation, like every single one of us?
Yeah.
And American evangelicalism, I think historically, but also now currently, looks more like dominance than it ever looks like divinity.
Yeah. Because it was, I mean, American Christianity was formulated when we were not up to good things. Like, if you look at where we were back then, we're always talking about like getting back to the good old days of Christianity. People say that, and you're like, well, we formed that when there was a lot of really horrible things happening. Women couldn't vote. There was slavery. Like, what we did to the Native Americans. Like, American Christianity was there for all of that. Like, we want to go back to those days. So, of course, all this stuff is rooted deep. And the colonization. I watched Sinners recently, and have you seen it?
Yeah,
The
I saw
like
it.
the subtext about, and it was that layer of talking about how like African people had other religions, and it was part of us trying to control was subjecting our religion onto them. And I was like, holy shit, I never thought about it like that.
Oh yeah.
That shit's deep.
When in chattel slavery, when they brought African slaves over here, I mean, they made them into Christians.
Yeah.
That's
wild.
And then
of course they weren't practicing before then.
for the majority, no.
Yeah.
Even though the Bible Christianity first emerged in North Africa like 2,000 years before, but that's a whole nother.
Okay.
That part of
that's
history is
another
lost.
story.
Yeah.
Interesting. I should know more.
Yeah. But you forget the Bible that was given to slaves had certain passages taken out and certain passages emphasized. Yeah. You could go to the African American History Museum in DC, and they'll show you the actual slaveholding Bible. For instance, the book of Exodus was taken out. I wonder why.
Oof. Exodus.
Because
all about freeing all the slaves.
Freeing slaves. Or about
Moses
saying, let my people go, because because God heard the cries of the oppressed.
Yeah.
But guess what? Exodus was taken out of that Bible. So you wonder why like generations of people don't value liberation. Yeah. And again, these are the roots. You might think, okay, well, we're clearly in different times, but I'm telling you, the tree is rotten to its core.
Yeah.
Evangelicalism is a bastardized version of Christianity in the church tradition tree. It is a recent phenomenon. How we think about many of the things we frame around heaven, hell, atonement, penal substitutionary atonement, particularly. I mean, that's one of my favorite sacred idols that the church has believed. Yeah. Like, all these things come from a punitive place because settler colonialism came out of a punitive place, and we framed God through these lenses, and then we wonder why today people are struggling with depression, anxiety, shame, and ideation when it comes to how they perceive God. Yeah. It's because the root system in America that has given us these versions of Christianity came out of pure evil. It's pure evil. Yeah. And the question has to become, when are we going to develop new theology? And not, when I say new, I don't mean like brand new. I mean, when are we just going to restore just the pure roots of a gospel that loves the poor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the poor. Blessed are the meek. Blessed are the lowly, right? That's the narrow gate. Don't get me preaching, because you're not going to preach.
I know.
That's the narrow gate. You want to talk about, like, the Bible says, wide is the field of destruction and narrow's the gate, few will find it. Yeah. Everyone treats that like, oh, you do all these sins out here. You be gay, you go party, you drink, that's the wide road that leads to destruction. And the narrow gate's this tiny sliver of holiness. Yeah. But if you actually realize, go back to Matthew 4, 5, and 6, when Jesus, before he starts talking about the narrow gate, he's talking about the Sermon on the Mount, blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek. He's saying that's the narrow gate. He's saying compassion and mercy is the narrow gate, because guess the wide road is judgment. It's the thing that says you're evil, you're wrong, scapegoating other people.
That's an easy road.
That's the easy road. Scapegoating, judgment is the easy road. But guess what the narrow gate is that few will find? Mercy. Yeah. Yeah. Loving the poor, blessing your enemies, doing the lowly. Blessed are the meek. They will inherit the earth. Yeah. The lowly, the wretched of the earth. That's the narrow gate. Yeah. But we somehow, in our American context, this is why I say American Christianity has bastardized the gospel. Yeah. Because they've flipped everything on its head and made it seem like, oh, the people that do these sins are and then you do this is holy. Yeah. But like I said, holiness is not individual. It's a collective project. So when we collectively scapegoat marginalized people, we're becoming the Satan. We become evil. Yeah. And then you wonder why you look at Matthew 24-25, right? Jesus is judging nations, ethnic groups, based on their treatment of the poor. Yeah. And he's saying, like, woe to you. Anyway. Yeah, I'm done.
No, you're good.
I'm drinking some more tequila. We're done preaching. I'm sorry. I went on a little rant.
Preach. No, I mean,
Benny Johnson would be proud of me.
I'm with you on all of this. I mean, I think, like, it was what you do to the least of these, you do to me, right? there's so much in the Bible is about loving people, and you shall know them by their fruit. Okay, what is the fruit of the church? Why do all the minorities, even if you think minorities aren't being oppressed, they're just confused. That's what the people will say. If all the minorities feel oppressed, the queers, the black people, the Mexicans, like right now, like if they feel oppressed and they feel hurt, don't listen to like straight white people's take on if they're oppressed and hurt. Listen to them, and if they say they're feeling oppressed and hurt by the church, that should make you take notice and think maybe this isn't working right, and maybe there's some serious issues here. And I don't feel loved by the church right now. Like it was so weird to have this community that felt like loving. And obviously there's some parts of the church that are really great, but like the overarching church, if I go into a random evangelical church, I feel unsafe. And it's such a weird thing to feel and say. I'm like, oh, I hope I don't, like, I better not look too queer. If I'm with someone else, I'm not going to those spaces regularly. And I'm like, that is so wild. Like, but I couldn't understand that until I actually was out of the closet, until I was actually an open, free gay man. And
because you became the stigma, whereas you were hiding before, you allowed yourself to become the stigma. Yeah. And, you know, depending on your ability to pass, right? Like some people can mask the stigma until they can't anymore, right? Yeah. And then for me, just having black skin, it's like I have to wear the stigma.
You've had a different experience your whole life.
Yeah,
I just walked into it.
Yeah, but and I'm not trying to diminish your experience.
No,
I'm
you
just
can
simply
diminish
saying,
away.
No, I'm really not trying to diminish it.
No, it is less.
I'm just saying. I'm just actually trying to reinforce it by saying the stigma is the problem. Yeah. And so that's why I said earlier, like, we should be destigmatizing sex. We need to destigmatize this shame culture, this puritanical culture that keeps people feeling like they can't actually express themselves. And I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but I believe in a scripture that says where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Yeah. Right. And even Paul himself says, you know, everything's permissible. Right. Maybe it's not always the best, but like we need a culture again that actually creates freedom for people. And also freedom for difference, like the difference in sexual orientation, the difference in gender identity. Like, I don't know. It's clear to me now. It felt so foggy back then. And it felt like, because again, when you're in spaces that don't affirm your humanity, you are constantly fighting for just to be seen. Yep. And it's so hard to sometimes be seen in this world. But that's why I think it's important to surround yourself with people and put yourself in community spaces where people truly celebrate the whole of who you are, not part of you, but the whole of who you are. Like, I can never regularly attend a church that isn't affirming. I just can't. Not even to say that those churches are like evil, though I think a lot of the theology is bullshit, right? It's just to say, if I walk through that door and I am not respected as a whole black person, a whole black queer person, then I why am I here?
What's the point?
What's like, I would never disrespect anyone's gender identity and sexual orientation, or if that's even any of my business, right? Like, if you're like, hey, I'm straight, I'm like, cool, bro. Cool. What does that have to do with me? Like,
I see a human here.
You're just a human. Okay, cool. You want to tell me you like women? Cool, bro. But if that doesn't often work in reverse, right? Like, you say, oh, I'm attracted to the same sex, and people, they get really weird about it. Like, it's strange. So these days I actually kind of like fucking with people and all the like toxic evangelical bullshit we were told about, like, you know, if you're queer, you need to repent. And, you know, I just turn that back on straight people. I'm like, you know, straight people need to repent for heteronormativity. They really do. Straight people need to repent for heteronormativity, for creating a system in which other people feel less than. You know, they need to actually find the narrow gate of mercy, and they, for real, because their souls are in the balance. Like, one of my favorite theologians, I think it's Dr. Willie Jennings. He has a sermon on YouTube. You should go look it up. It's called "Can White People Be Saved?" It's a great sermon. He did it at Fuller Theological over here in Pasadena. And it's a great sermon. Go listen to it. But I pose that same question. Can straight people be saved? Because actually, I don't know.
Harder for a rich person to go eye of the needle with
than for them to get in heaven. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Well, yeah, because he's rich.
Because it's about the place of privilege,
Yeah.
right? It's about how privilege actually diminishes your capacity to see the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked that question. Can white people be saved? Oh, can straight people be saved? I think you should ask that question.
Yeah. Are you loving people well?
Yeah.
'Cause, it doesn't. I mean, ask the people that are not feeling loved.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point, because that's the judgment that Jesus is actually offering humanity to see about itself, is judge yourself through the lens of the marginalized and the least. Don't judge yourself through the lens of the powerful. Again, is it dominance or divinity?
Yeah.
Are you viewing it from the top down or the bottom up? And scripture is all about seeing things from the bottom up, because the Jews themselves were persecuted people who were crying out to God from a place of oppression, right? Old Testament into New. So ultimately, we have a faith that is about seeing things from the bottom up, and people weaponize it by viewing it from the top down, by taking a perspective of privilege and dominance and forcing their viewpoints onto the text. Like if anybody cherry picks scripture, it's conservatives.
Absolutely.
The most.
Because there's how many scriptures about loving and the poor and all this, and we're talking about the
justice.
like 5 scriptures that are kind of about sexuality, and like it's exhausting once you realize that, and then you're like, oh, if I was trying to make a very controlling, oppressive religion, these are the scriptures I would focus on.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, that's what evangelicalism focuses on.
Yeah, control, power, but I think money. But you know what?
All the same thing.
You know what's beautiful though is, and this is what I tend to focus on. What I tend to focus on is the beauty of the body of Christ, because the body of Christ is not simply what we perceive of as the American church. The body of Christ is all of God's people, because we were made in the image.
So pulling this all together now, how does it feel to have integrated your sexuality with your faith? What's that experience internally like compared to what it was like when you were kind of conflicted between the two?
I realized everything is sex. Even worship music, it was sex. Right? I mean, just the rhythm of it, the pace of it, the energy. Yeah, we were always like,
the build.
Leading worship was like making love. There's so many similarities to leading worship and making love.
I mean, Song of Solomon is all about love and music.
You know, even aspects of sexuality are like worship, if you know what I mean. Again, destigmatizing it, integrating things. I've had to do a lot of introspective work of simply acknowledge my desire.
Yep. Learn
not to create stigmas around it or destigmatize all the things I was taught around it. And then just move into places of acceptance and affirmation. Like, I accept who I am. And there's nothing anyone can say that's going to make me think less of myself, because I know me better than you do.
Yeah.
I do. Especially now I'm 42 years old, almost 42. Yeah. Like, I know me. I know what I desire. I know what I love, and I know how I love, and I know that love is holy and it's sacred and it's pure. And you can't tell me shit about that.
Yeah.
You know, like James Baldwin used to say all the time, like, it's not like this question about love and homosexuality is like, it's not in the realm of the church. It's not in the realm of government. And if you lie about that, you lie about everything. If you try to contain love and say love only looks like these things, you're lying to yourself, but you're also lying to all of us. And for me, I just had to recognize that this was less of a theological battle, and it was more about forgiveness.
Yep.
And I identify forgiveness as acceptance. I think those words are synonymous. Accepting who I am. That's how I forgive. It's just by accepting who I am. And knowing that I know who I am in the truth, how then shall I live? Like, what are the ethics around that? Like, what is holy and just and good? And those have been big questions. And I think when part of the reason why people either are afraid to come out, or they're afraid, if they're straight, they're afraid to affirm other people, is because they don't know the new rules.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's a scary world. And when you begin to affirm things that you were taught to hate and fear and reject, now it feels like the script I was given no longer works.
Yep.
And now I'm in a universe that doesn't make sense to me. And now it's peril.
Yep.
And everyone, I think, so many people, queer people and straight people, live in fear because we want the script. We want to be told what's right and what's wrong and what are the clear lines here.
Feel safe.
And
it's the Matrix. We feel safe in there.
we do feel safe in it. So that's why it's easier to cling. And I always say that this is where conservatives win the messaging war, whether conservatives in the religious sense or the political sense even, is because they play into people's need for high structure and high control. And we're bent and wired to sort of like go where whoever's being dominant, right? We're pack people. We follow the like, and we all come from, a lot of us, whether culturally or religiously, come from conservative spaces. We've never truly lived in a real liberal society,
right?
Or progressive society,
right?
So we're so afraid of the future. We're afraid of the unknown of what liberation can look like. What can a monetary system that doesn't center capitalism look like? What does an economic system that values justice and values, you know, everyone being housed and everyone being fed and everyone having access to work and a job, like, right? We're so afraid of the future that we keep running back to authoritative, fascistic expressions because it makes us feel safe. So anyway, I just had to be okay with living into a brave new future and realizing there is no script, and that's okay. And in learning that, I actually then start finding out, oh, there's people who have lived like me before in history. You know, I quoted James Baldwin earlier. Like, I look at people like James Baldwin, who lived in a time where open queerness was not accepted, and he wrestled with his faith as a son of a preacher, and he was an author and a creative, and he's trying to, like, how do I be who I am in this world, yet also valuing safety. And, you know, he would run away to Paris for a while and then come back to America during the civil rights movement and you know, speaking of things, but then have to leave again. Like, he's doing this dance. And then I find so many other people through history that speak to my experience. And this is why I love reading, because you realize you're never alone.
No, absolutely. They've been journeying through stuff like this for years. We think we're so original to be wrestling with these concepts.
The ancestors are radical. I tell you what, they're very radical. And there's so many people throughout history who are questioning things. I mean, you know, look at the suffragist movement, look at the womanist movement, look at...
people thought they were crazy at the time.
Like Sojourner Truth doing that. She did that sermon, Ain't I a Woman? And she did that at that big convention. You go read that speech. You're like seeing people from 200 years ago saying more radical things than you're saying on the internet right now.
Absolutely. When it was a lot scarier.
When it was a lot more scarier, when they had more to risk. So for me, I've always bounded myself to history and to my own sense of, like, not just self-worth, but really I've dignified myself. I've always had to dignify myself. Even when it's been painful and lonely, I've had to draw on my own inner strength and my own inner conviction, because that's the only way, I think, as queer people, any of us will get through this.
Absolutely.
We have to find and dig wells for ourselves of resilience, of compassion, of nurturing, of saying that we matter. Like, I'm doing a lot of new music right now that's pop based, that's singer-songwriter, that's about love. Like, I've never wanted to write love songs in my entire life. And the only reason I'm doing it is because if I ever were to suddenly pass away, the one thing I don't want y'all to only remember is my Christian shit. Like, I want you to know I was a whole person.
Absolutely.
Like, I loved and I had experiences and I dated. And so I'm releasing all this pop music because I'm like, how am I a 41, 2-year-old gay black man doing pop music? This doesn't make sense. But I'm doing it for me.
I mean, if Beyonce's doing it,
right? Well, she's doing pop, country,
she's usually
house,
fire, pop stuff.
She's like 43, 44. No, and she kind of inspired me in that way of, like, there's so much to say and do through art. And my new stuff may never be as successful as the old stuff, but what it will do is it will dignify my own humanity.
And
that's what matters. And at the end of the day, it's what I'm going to leave behind. So I'm like, man, I'm going to write love songs that are about my experience of that look and sound like me. They might be a little cheesy to folks. They might be a little, you'll resonate with it or you won't, but it matters because as a queer black person, my dignity matters.
Absolutely.
And fuck anyone else that says different. That's it.
It's a part of your story. I think it needs to be out there. I'm excited. It's like, I think it's going to be dropped right before this podcast airs, right? The first single, at least,
first single's been dropped. Second single drops in a couple days.
Oh, shoot.
I'm doing basically a song a month. For the next bit.
Okay.
So,
and how can they find this? What's the best way to get onto your
stuff?
Spotify,
Apple Music.
It's on Spotify, Apple Music. The singles are on there already.
Yeah. Find me on Instagram, William Matthews. But William Matthews X, I think, is my username. But yeah, find me on Instagram, and then you'll kind of see all the drops when they hit. But yeah, no, I'm on a different wavelength and journey right now. I'm producing a lot more. I'm working with other producers. but music for me is hit a whole new era, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What's it? Well, you're still worship leading here and there, yeah? I mean, you're still doing
No,
some.
not right
Not
now.
at all.
Not right
Just
now.
focus on the pop.
Just all pop stuff right now. Last couple of years, I did work at a queer affirming church here in LA. New Abbey,
right?
Yeah,
Yes.
great church.
Yes, I know some people from there.
Yeah, Britt Barron's
Yes, I love her.
on staff there. Yeah, she's one of my close friends. So yeah, I did that the last couple of years, but right now,
Just focus on the pop.
just focusing on pop music. I don't know if I'll ever make a Christian music
Yeah.
return.
I mean,
but
you've got a lot out there already. That's very good. What's it? Wait, what was it like leading worship in a queer affirming, like a queer space, after leading in so many spaces that weren't queer? Did you feel like it brought new layers to your worship?
it was complex because, leading in like evangelical spaces, there's a lot of mystery and magic that comes in those spaces where we believe God to be literal in certain ways. And so we're like, I'm literally worshiping a God on a throne and he looks like this and there are angels around him and cherubim and seraphim. And if I worship hard enough, then God's presence is going to pour down on me, right? There's a lot less of that energy in more progressive spaces because, progressives tend to frame God in different ways than a lot of conservatives do or charismatics do.
Yeah.
So it was different because there was a lot less fervor in that way, but still richness and depth. And also, it was just beautiful to see openly queer people love Jesus and worship through worship music or through prayer times or small group. New Abbey does a lot of small group time where we have conversations and turn to one another. Community focused. It's a very community focused church.
As it should be.
Yeah, and working there was such a beautiful joy because it got to redeem a church experience for me.
Yeah.
Because
That's important.
a church experience where I got to be 100% myself the whole way through.
Yeah.
There was nothing to hide.
Yes.
Nothing to hide. And also no one trying to pastor me based on their strict sexual ethic.
Yes.
Right? Like, and also even as somebody on staff there, like, unless I used to say this all the time, unless you're drugging or somebody, like what you do in your personal sexual life is yours.
Yeah.
And if you have questions or you want to process something, the staff is here, there are pastors here, we could process that, and the questions were different, right? Like, should I be polyamorous? My partner wants to be, but I don't know. And what does the Bible say, right? Like, people have like real questions around these things, and that's holy. And you get to work through that in a place of where the stigma's gone. And so in a place of celebration and affirmation, rather than in a place of like, how dare you, and you got to be exactly like this and fit into this sexual box.
Yes.
And
as if you took every biblical verse about sexuality, then no one would fit that rule system. So it's like, okay, we're judging people on sexuality and whatever when no one fits the perfect biblical mold because it was written in BC. And then also like, there's a lot we don't know.
And also, I mean, they literally sold women as dowries. So,
there's a lot of problems there. So like, why are we using that selectively to judge certain people? There's so many layers to that.
That goes, that's the whole conversation on how we hold scripture, which that's a scary one too, going back to that script.
Yeah.
That's a scary one to let go of how people hold the text.
And it definitely shakes you up when you first start opening these things up. But I think it was weird to me that I had never done it before. I think we always think we're maybe thinking through these verses, but when you've always viewed it from your lens and your church and your tribe, you really don't see the other perspectives. And once you learn them, it does change you. But if you can still keep your faith and keep, whatever your faith looks like, it can be a really powerful journey. And I think that's where you've come down. You've kept so many pieces of your past and your journey, and you've integrated it all. And I think that's really beautiful because you're still you, but you're a freer, fuller you. Like, there's more of you that is being able to see the light of day,
I hope so. I really do. Thank you for that. That's really humbling. Like any journey, it's come with pain and suffering. Yeah. It's come with a lot of lonely nights. Yeah. It's come with a lot of tears. It's come with a lot of late night phone calls. Thank you for everyone who answered my phone call. It's an onion. It's like peeling back layer on layer. Yeah. And I feel like I'm in another season of that again. I'm like, I think I'm deconstructed. I'm pretty good. And then like something happened. And I'm like, oh, there's something. There's still a level here. So having to be tender and soft with myself. I mean, I've had this past year, I've struggled a lot with PTSD from like some religious trauma stuff and in ways where I've just like responded to people in not good ways that really was because I felt triggered. And then next thing you know, I'm like blaming somebody for something shouldn't be like. And so I've had to like go back to the drawing board in a lot of ways this year, and look at myself in some hard ways and own some of it, of like, oh, that's my trauma speaking.
Yeah.
I thought I was over that, or I thought I had like healed that. But I just say that to say there's always, if there's ever, thank you for saying what you said. I do feel more integrated, and yet I'm also acknowledging there's still more work to be done.
Yeah.
And it's never over.
Yeah.
But you know, as Miley said, it's the climb.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're not being in a place of growth, not expecting to need to grow more or learn more, would be denying that we're human. So that's the right answer, because no matter how, I think the more we grow, the more we realize there's always growth. If you ever,
I like being human. Tell me what you think. Do you like being human more than being supernatural? Because I feel like there was such an emphasis a lot of years ago on being supernatural and being like,
especially in the circles we were in.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't actually want to be supernatural.
Yeah.
I actually want to be human, because as a human, I get to be soft.
Yeah.
I get to grieve. And those are things when I was trying to be supernatural, like I had to constantly spiritually bypass sadness and grief and all the human experience. Now I'm like, I don't want to be supernatural.
I think we devalued a lot of the human experiences, and I mean, I think we just focus on the life after this one, and I think just really realizing like this life is important. I don't know. I think I've definitely thought about that a lot more after coming out and after deconstructing, and feeling like I have a connection. I feel like I have more of a connection to other humans that have different faiths than me.
Of course.
I feel more connected to the world, to other people. I don't feel like I'm in a select group, and there is like a little bit of distance you just randomly put when you're like super Christian and holy. And yeah, I just feel like I feel more human, and I like it. I do like that.
Because you're connecting with people on the human experience level, not on the ideological belief level.
Yeah.
Because we were taught you have to believe the same thing as someone for there to be unity.
Yeah.
When in actuality, what unifies us is the shared human experience more than belief in certain ideals, right? So that's why it makes sense why you're having great experiences and connecting with people of other faiths and other identities and traditions. And, you know, I also think that's what separates conservative Christianity from progressive Christianity too, is in a lot of ways, as somebody who leans progressive politically, theologically, I have more in faith with other progressive Muslims and Buddhists than I do with my conservative Christian.
I can relate to that sometimes.
It's almost like a different religion in a lot of ways. And I personally think theologically it is. I think what divides progressive Christianity and conservative Christianity really boils back to what you believe about the nature of sacrifice. It boils back to Abraham killing Isaac. And I think conservative Christianity, and this is where the penal substitutionary atonement theory comes from, is that God commanded Abraham to kill Isaac.
Yeah.
And if you believe that, then you believe in a punitive God. You believe in a God who will sacrifice his own child in order to atone for like sins, right?
Yeah.
Where progressive Christianity, I think, one that's particularly based in nonviolent theory, and maybe Girardian in the sense of the French anthropologist René Girard's theory about scapegoating. Progressive Christianity would argue, no, Abraham's idea of what God wanted was to sacrifice his son, because that was the common mythos of the time. And it was actually God who sent the angel to stop him from killing his son and instead offered the ram in the bush. That seems like a minute theological point, but it's actually, to me, the vast difference between sacrificial Christianity and non-sacrificial Christianity. Do you believe God is a punitive God who wants to sacrifice his own children for the sake of others, right? And this need for like a scapegoat and this need for sacrifice? Or do you actually believe God to be nonviolent and non-sacrificial, and God is actually, you know, the one that's trying to de-escalate from violence, not perpetuate violence through a divine order? And I think that is the root of progressive Christianity versus conservative Christianity, is how we view sacrifice. And I clearly lean very Girardian in my thought around this notion of non-sacrifice. And then that plays into everything else: heaven, hell, substitutionary atonement. Did Jesus die on the cross for our sins? What does that actually mean?
Yep.
In terms of like scapegoating and sacrifice, like was it God that was punishing Jesus on behalf of
Right.
my own sin versus like actually Jesus just absorbing, the sin of the world willingly versus him being punished by a divine father. And anyway, that's
there's
a bigger
layers
conversation
there that I'm not fully qualified to jump into, but it is interesting. I think all that punitive stuff we say we believe in evangelical culture, we're like, yeah, God is a judge, and we're like, but also like everybody's gonna be happy and everybody's gonna be loved and everything's good and God wants the best for everything. It's like it kind of feels like we're walking in two different paths at the same time, where it's like you think he's really judgmental and like he's a fear, like be afraid. He's meant to. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
But like the energy around it is like, no, but he loves us and we're all great. And it's like, yeah, but you still think he's sending all the gay people and all the people that are from different cultures that don't believe in Jesus to hell. And so everything's cute and we're all loving and everything's vibey and fun. But there's some really dark stuff in the middle of all that we're just kind of like, that's not us. So it's fine.
Very much. I mean, it's dark. Yeah. A lot of it is dark.
There's layers.
And that's why I think we should be advocating for better beliefs about God, better beliefs about each other.
We should be learning, open-minded, learning about other people,
learning
about the Bible without your particular tribe's framework.
Yeah, it'd be open to pushback.
Yeah, that we should all be experiencing that. There should be moments where we question things. That should be, that's human. And
because listen,
that should be
as a Black queer guy that spent a lot of time in white spaces, I've had to question a lot. Yeah. So I need some of y'all to do that in return. Give that energy back. I need y'all to get out of your boxes, read beyond your depth, read before you call somebody a Marxist, read what they're reading. Actually read some Karl Marx first before you start slamming people and calling them communists for no reason.
You listen to one podcast and you just like assume you know everything about something. It's like, no, do the research for yourself.
If
you want to argue, then you have a lot more liberty.
Exactly. Like actually, because that's why in a lot of ways I feel like it can be so hard to have these conversations with people who believe differently, because you're not even operating in the same universe, or you don't have a common set of terms. Like even the racism conversation, like we talked around it a lot, and I have very specific frameworks that I've studied and understand for what that is. But I could see how what things I say will like trigger someone or make them think I'm saying something I'm not, because we're not operating from the same set of common understanding tools. Like even when I say things like white supremacy or whiteness or white ideology, or like people hear it through different lenses of experience. And so even when I said earlier, can white people be saved? Like that can feel very offensive, and that partly it is to offend, but also it's to offend to provoke curiosity. It's not to say white people are inherently irredeemable, but it's to present the question of, how are we framing things? How are we framing religion? How are we framing culture? And by posing it in that question, it can invite like something. But even saying it that way, to some people will just feel inflammatory. It'll just feel like you're just trying to piss me off or offend me for the sake of offending, and it's not.
No, absolutely. We take so little time in the American church especially to try and understand how other people think, what other people's culture is, perspective is. The language is different. The lens is different. Why aren't we trying to see through the other person's lens first before we make snap judgments about things?
Exactly.
And the learning should be the first thing we're doing, as like in spirituality and like learning about other people's sexuality, like race, all of this. We should be asking questions first. That would solve so many problems, because in the end of the day, we know what we're supposed to be doing as Christians is loving our neighbors and helping the least of these. Like, these are the things that were said. These are the things that Jesus exemplified while he's on the earth more than anything else, was loving people that no one else was loving. That was his number one message. So it doesn't just mean loving them in the way that your culture says to love people. It means learning about people, getting in there, talking to people, understanding, and not just judging people. How are you supposed to understand someone's language, someone's words, someone's values, when your perspective is only from your world? You're never going to know what they're actually trying to say if you see it through your lens. And so I know there's places where I don't understand as much. Like even like today I've been learning, like I always want to learn. And if you ever shut your learning off, something's wrong.
Well, it's curiosity.
Yeah.
And I think people are scared to be curious.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the greatest quality any human can have is curiosity, just in general.
Absolutely.
And some of us have it. Yeah. Some of us have it more than others. And I get that. Sometimes it's a skill you have to grow and learn in, like going to the gym and lifting weights. Like some of us need to grow in our curiosity. And there's seasons of time where maybe you feel more open, especially when you're younger, right? You always feel like you're so open and curious about the way the world works. And then you kind of see the way the world works and you just kind of sit in your corner and shut down. And I just know this and this is what I was taught. And like you live in these rigid boxes, but you're right. I think it's time for all of us to get out of our boxes and to open up our minds to different experiences and ways of living life. And maybe a lot of the old folks used to say, the older you get, the less you know.
Yeah.
And I think there's some wisdom in that too.
Are the old folks still saying that? Because I don't think they're saying that lately.
The old folks that I know, the wise ones, the sages.
Maybe the last gen. This latest gen ain't really listening.
I was, just because you're older doesn't necessarily make you wise.
Yeah.
But there are some, old folks. Like the older I get, sometimes I think about the wisdom that some of the people who've gone before me used to say. Yeah. And I'm like, man, the old saints used to say this and they weren't wrong. Like some
things never change.
Some things, like I could look at even like some of my family members. Like I have aunts who would be like, you need to be careful around those white people that are super into abortion. Something ain't right about it. I'm like, no, it's about this. And I would like, and then I looked back and I was like, God, they were so right. They were so right.
Yep.
Something ain't clean in the buttermilk. Right. Like I had to kind of go back and go, Auntie, you were right. Yeah. You were right.
There's always layers.
There's always layers.
Always seek to understand. Even what your grandma's saying or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I had to learn. The ancestors, they know a little more than I want to give them credit for.
Yeah. The world doesn't change that much. We think it does, but a lot of same patterns. They just show up.
That part. Study the patterns. Yeah. Study the patterns, and you will know all things repeat. Yes. Everything repeats.
We're not that original.
No. If you want to be prophetic, just study history.
Yeah,
you'll learn, and the patterns always repeat. And even the pattern we're in right now politically, these are all repeats. I mean, this whole Trump resistance 2.0 thing, it's really a repeat of 2017 to 2020 in certain ways. Like it's the same script. We're kind of repeating a pattern from a lot of years ago right now. So, and which then in a lot of ways will help you map out what will come next.
Right. Right. Hopefully it's chaotic, but I think we might be able to figure it out.
I think so too. It's terrifying in one sense, but also we've been in terrible situations in this country and there's been a lot of resilience.
We forget that we've been through worse.
Yeah.
And we've survived. This is my first time being out when I feel like there's a political movement that feels against me.
Yeah.
But this is like the baby version compared to what people 20, 30, 40 years went through. So,
and you know what's interesting about that too is, it is. But don't you feel like this also feels like you're in a political wise? Doesn't it feel like you're also in a megachurch again? Yeah. Like the Trump administration feels like a megachurch to me.
It's trauma. Like it's giving me PTSD. Because I'm like, why is this happening on the news?
Yeah, with all their B-list mid-management characters that just feel like
Charlie Kirk of it all.
Yeah, like these terrible people put in positions of power and leadership that you're like, these feel like Pastor Brad at that church I used to go at, who was just super weird and shitty, but everyone just let him have power. And he lorded it over people in these ways, and he was like, they all worship the senior pastor. Like it's the same script. Go watch Righteous Gemstones. It's the same script.
Oh my God, yes. I do feel like having this where it is now, where it's all like on TV and everything, it's like maybe people will be like, maybe this isn't the best, but
we'll see.
I think I think we're at about time. I wanted to say, okay, so Spotify, William Matthews, Apple Music, William Matthews. Anywhere else you want to send people if they want to find you?
Just follow me on Instagram. I need a little more Instagram love. Okay. So Instagram love would be good. Follow me there. Yeah. And like I said, I have a new song called Oops that's out, and probably by the time this comes out, my second single Levitate will be out.
Yes.
And hopefully I'm going to drop the mixtape this fall, and then it's going to be a deluxe album next year with more songs. So basically for about a year, I'm going to be dropping a song a month. So follow my musical journey.
Yeah. Okay. Follow the Instagram. That'll lead you to the other stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad I was in LA and got to interview you.
Yeah, this is fun. Thank you.
A lot of good stuff. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Till next time.
Let's do it.